Okay, I ended my last video at this exact point. I just finished looking at what is probably lambda 1, 2 and 3, or lambda 0, 1, 2, whichever way you want to number them. And I said that there was this odd possible map here, but I was suspicious that it wasn't actually a map. And I also said that I may come back and have a look at it later. So I'm still looking at the SAT layout 1.9105 BHP edc16, and I'm just going to have a quick look at this map that may not be a map. I didn't do it in the lambda video because I suspect that it's not part of anything to do with lambda, even though it may well be a lambda map. Now the easy way to tell, of course, would be to go and have a look at it as this, as the text. If I just shift that across, I suspect I'm already got a view of 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yep. Now I'm going to assume it has to be 13 by 16 like the others. So I'm going to go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So I'm going to assume that it's 16 there. So I'm going to assume that that's where it starts. So I'm going to say, right, I'll have that as my map. Now, of course, what I don't have is any axes data. And so that's where I run into trouble. Now, let's make an assumption then. Let's assume that even though this doesn't necessarily make a great deal of sense, let's assume that that row of data across there is this. Now, first of all, I'll just turn the sync off because that can cause all sorts of problems, and then I'll just randomly click a few places to make sure that the sync has gone, which it has. Right, and then I'll click delete to get rid of that. Right, now I think that axis starts there, so I'll go there. Then I'll go over to here and press a bit that's not important because I don't want to upset my thing over here, and I'll double click on that, and I'll say EEPROM, pick the data up from the hex dump. Now let's just move that over. Has it? Yes, it's picked that row up from the hex dump. So I'll say, okay, that will do me. So I'll just say okay to that. Now I've got some figures. Just press delete again because it shoved a highlight in. Right, now let's go and look at the others. There's some numbers that could be revs per minute. And where would they have started? Well, the numbers don't make sense. You can see, look, we've got 6, 5, 4, 3.5, 3, 2.5, 2, 1500, 13, 1200, 1200, 1200, 1000, 6000. So the numbers don't make a great deal of sense, which again makes you, think that this map is not the real deal. But 13, 14, 15, 16, that would put that somewhere around about the start of the block of stuff, wouldn't it? Except let's just run it through again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That would give me 13, 14, 15, 16. Sorry, I'm pressing the wrong button. So that would give me a starting point for that data, even though the number just looks daft. And I should expect to see here 16 and 13 then, shouldn't I? But what I've actually got is 2 and 2, which is clearly nonsense. Now, I won't change those to 16 and 13, not now, because there is no point, because I don't want to upset the file, but that's probably what needs to be in there if this map is ever to come to life. So I'll just leave that there, and then I'll come over to here, and I'll say use that data, so EEPROM from hex dump, okay, and you can see now it's used that data, and you can see that there's something very odd here, isn't there, because got 1000, 4000, 5000, 10,000, and then 1200. There's something very odd here for what we suspect is revs per minute. So that doesn't really make a great deal of sense. If we look across here, we've got possibly airflow. So if we look on there, let's just assume that is probably airflow. So if we just say mass airflow, I won't worry about the unit or anything at the moment. I'll just put in there 0.1 because we would normally have used 0.1. So I'll just say okay. Now that's given us relatively sensible figures. So up to 1,000, 900 on the others, but up to 1,000. So reasonably sensible. If we were to take these, let's assume then that these are lambda calculations again. So lambda calculation. I'm just going to tag on the end not used, because I can't see any way this map is being used, so we'll just tag that on the end as a reminder. Now we used 0.001 in there last time, and we went for at least 3 places after the decimal point. I'll say OK to that. Now it gives us that map. Now that map is not that strange, is it? I mean, it's got slightly less than 1 here, which is relatively meaningless, I guess, but lots of values of 1, and then it suddenly leaps into lots of values of 1.3, which are possibly a little bit high, possibly not. But it looks almost for certain that this is in no way being used, and in fact it can't be being used anyway if I get rid of it, because of these 2 numbers here, because there is no sensible reference for this map, because it should be saying 16 by 13, and so this map is simply not going to be used. So although this video may well end up being called lambda part 2 or something, is in effect not lambda at all, is it? Because what I'm doing is I'm just pointing out to you that there is a map that looks like a lambda map, but is in effect not a lambda map because it's not being used. So the ones that are being used, if I go back to this view, there's the one that is not being used, and these are probably being used, and they're probably only being used because all 3 are the same, so probably that one is the one that's being used. So it's as simple as that. Right, I'll stop there.